The Coastal Carolina Chanticleers started a new era at the head coaching position just, I believe, last season when Tim Beck came in to be the head coach. And after the ups and downs of last season, ended up being a pretty good year for Coastal Carolina, who just continues to be one of the better teams in the Sun Belt Conference. Well, now a new era starts elsewhere. No, not the head coaching position, at the quarterback position. They lose a star as well as a ton of other talent, both offensively and defensively. But can Coastal Carolina still push to compete in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game in 2024? You're about to find out what I think here in this video. What's up, Tailgaters? Here in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel and welcome to prediction season. I'm predicting all 134 FBS level college football teams. And if you're as big of a college football nerd as I am, you got to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell if you want to know what I have to say during the season as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Help support my channel in more ways than you can even imagine. We only have about 40 of these prediction videos left. Make sure you stick around on the channel during the season. Go watch my other prediction videos, including if you're a fan of a Power 4 team. You have a video on my channel, but there are other ways to help support the channel as well. Again, simply watching the videos helps out a lot, but you can like, you can comment, you can share, and any other way you interact with the channel helps to support it. Now let's talk about the Chanticleers in 2024. We'll take a deep dive into the team's offense, into the defense, and at the end, we'll go through the Coastal Carolina football schedule and give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. Couple more things before we do start. Right over here will be the stats the team put up either offensively or defensively last season. And, of course, for your viewing pleasure, right below the team's logo, I've put the team's coaching staff. Let's waste no more time. Let's dive on into talking about the Chanticleers. And, again, they lose an absolute stud in the quarterback room, and even though he did not have his best season in a Chanticleer uniform, I believe injuries played a part in that as well as some other quarterbacks getting some pretty fair amounts of playing time. You go look back at what he did in 2020, 2021, 2022. His touchdown to interception ratio was always great. He's always good for, you could say, at least 2,500 yards, and that is Grayson McCall. He's now with the NC State Wolfpack, and last season, 1,919 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, which by far was his least most impressive season here in Conway. Again, you go back to what he did in 2022, 2,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, 2 picks, had 27 touchdowns to 3 interceptions in 2021, and 26 to 3 in 2020, the COVID season, where was the only season besides last year where he didn't break 2,500 yards, but he was only 12 yards off of doing so. If it was a full season, he probably could have gotten 3,000. Really good quarterback who will go play for a team in NC State looking to break through in the ACC. Jarrett Guest also had some really good playing time out of the quarterback room last year, 696 yards and 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions at a 72% clip. He is transferred out of this program as well. I'll tell you where he's going here in a minute. He's going to go over to Bryant, and he probably will end up being that starting quarterback over there. And Blake Boda, however you pronounce that last name, is off to Arkansas. No passes thrown for him last season. So you do get a couple transfers coming into this quarterback room to supplement. Noah Kim is over from Michigan State, and Tad Hudson is over from North Carolina. I don't think Tad Hudson's going to win the starting job. I think Noah Kim is in contention to get that starting job, and if he won it, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me, but I'm expecting the starting job to go to a guy by the name of Ethan Vasco. He got playing time last year as well, threw for 779 yards and 122 pass attempts, 62.3% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, and only 1 interception last season. Now, does he still have some development left to do? Yes. Obviously, but he has a lot of really good tools. He showed some really good things with this program last season, and the thing that I think sets him apart from the other two guys is I think he's the best runner out of anyone in this quarterback room. He was the second leading rusher last year, 368 yards and 2 touchdowns for him last season, and I think that's going to play into his case very, very well, as I expect Ethan Vasco to win the starting job. Again, if Noah Kim does win it, it won't surprise me, but I expect number 16 there to be representing Coastal Carolina as the starting quarterback. Now, what does he have to work around with in terms of weapons? Well, he is losing his 3rd and 4th leading rushers, 2nd and 3rd leading rushers out of the running back room respectively, and CJ Beasley, who's off through the portal, and Reese White, who has graduated. Both of them, 252 yards last season my apologies, looking at the wrong stat line there. White had 252 yards, Beasley just 10 yards more, 262 yards for him last season, each of them with 2 touchdowns from last year. You do return your leading rusher in Braden Bennett, 407 yards, 5 touchdowns on 91 carries last season. Max Balthazar and Javin Simpkins also come back, but you do get some transfers coming in. Simeon Price is a Mississippi State transfer, and you get a New Mexico transfer coming in as well by the name of Christian Washington. Obviously, Simeon Price, coming over from a Power 4 program, is the most notable one to me, and if he is not going to be that lead back, he will definitely sit behind Braden Bennett there. Really 50-50 for me on which guy you want to end up deciding to start. I think both those guys give you pretty solid things from the running back position. I do like Simeon Price as a transfer, but Braden Bennett, your leading rusher from last year, probably will get a bulk of the carries in 2024. Wide receiver room, you lose some really talented pieces from here. 2 guys that led the team in receptions. Sam Pinckney is off to the NFL, had a 1,000-yard season last year, 1,027 yards and 8 touchdowns on 72 catches. And Jared Brown has entered the transfer portal. He's off to South Carolina, 740 yards and 4 touchdowns on 58 catches last season. And both of those guys, again, you heard 72 catches for Pinckney, 58 catches there for Brown. No one else on this team had more than 23. So you lose 2 very, very important weapons in the wide receiver room. And Tyson Mobley has gone through the portal. More of a depth piece, but still had over 100 yards receiving from last season. So Jamison Tucker does come back, 20 catches, 423 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Led the team in yards per reception last season. Kyrie Duplessis, Deion Fountain, and DeAndre Coleman also come back to this wide receiver room, while you do get a bulk of transfers entering the wide receiver room as well. Andre Jones is over from, I believe, not JUCO Community College. I believe a lower level. I don't think it's an FCS school. I can't remember the school right off the top of my head, but you do get him in this wide receiver room. Seneca McKee might be the most notable piece, at least to fans of FBS football, as he is coming over to UNLV, even though Andre Jones may end up playing a bigger role. Seneca McKee is a very notable name coming over from the Rebels, and Malik Mega got lost in a loaded wide receiver room at Penn State, and he has since transferred over to Coastal Carolina. No losses out of the tight end room, so that means you get Kendall Carr, your leading receiver among tight ends, back. I believe had 5 touchdowns last year. Yes, he did. 239 yards on 23 catches. Matt Alamo and Brooks Johnson also return as well. And when you talk about the offensive line, well, the really only notable loss I could find was Will McDonald. So you get Zovan Lindsay, Dylan Luther, Nick Del Grande, Thomas Johnson, Zach Elam, and Tyler Wager all coming back, while Heston Edwards comes in through the portal. I believe, again, he is over from a lower level school, such as an FCS Division II, something along those lines. And you do get a Texas transfer in Sawyer Gorham Welch coming in as well. So overall, when you take a look at this offense, I think you have a lot of really good pieces. Yeah, you lose Beasley and White. Yeah, you lose Pinckney and Brown. And even Tyson Mobley could have played a pretty big role this year. Obviously, there's no understating how big of a loss Grayson McCall is to this program. Very talented quarterback during his time in Conway. I think Ethan Vasco is going to give this team some really good quarterback play. I like the wide receiver room he has, especially if those transfer portal pieces can fit in well. If the running back room can do what it did last year. And look, they were a very run-by-committee team last year. They could be similar in that way here in 2024. If they can see the amount of success they saw last season, and the offensive line can see the amount of success, I don't know why I can't say that word right now, it had last season as well, you're looking at one of the better offenses in the Sun Belt Conference this season. Now, when you go ahead and transition on over to this defensive side, you do definitely have your fair share of talent leaving this room. Again, overall, this defense returns a lot of pretty good talent, but there are a lot of very important contributors here, such as Michael Mason. Off the defensive line, that leaves this team. I already mentioned Michael Mason, and we usually start with the defensive line, so we'll just continue on that train. Michael Mason was one of the leading tacklers on this defense last year, and his impact on the defensive line was just absolutely outstanding. You're going to see him playing for a new program in 2024. I'll tell you who that is in just one second. And I knew something was wrong. It technically wasn't wrong. He will be playing for a new team in 2024. It just will not be a college team there. So my apologies for the mistake, but Michael Mason is actually off to the NFL. He is now with the Los Angeles Chargers. You got to switch that A and E around there as well. Could also be Mikhail Mason as well. But nonetheless, very talented defensive lineman for Coastal Carolina last season. He had 67 tackles and 7 sacks last year. Again, I already told you he was the third leading tackler. The 7 sacks led the team, and it's a team that only had 21 sacks of production last year. Yeah, a third of those are gone when Mason leaves this team. You also do lose Kennedy Roberts, who has since graduated, 21 tackles, for him last season. So back on the defensive line is Will Whiston, 42 Whitson, my apologies, 42 tackles with 3 sacks last season, and Allen Henry, who had 39 tackles and 2 sacks a season ago, along with a lot of other pieces. And you can mention pretty much anyone else on the defensive line, but I'm listing these 4 guys here: Braylon Ryan, Clinton Anakwuru, Emmanuel Johnson, and Jaquan Griffin, as well as some transfer portal pieces. Diamante Diggs probably will play the biggest part out of the 3 transfers I'm about to list, which is why he's the only one on screen. He is hailing from Youngstown State. You do get Najuan Barber coming over from South Carolina State, and Ibrahim Diawara enters through the portal as well. Linebacker room, you lose a really good one in JT Killen, second leading tackler with 68 tackles, 2 pass defended, throw an interception in there as well, made for a really good linebacker from last season. You also are losing some pretty solid depth guys. Jamar Brown had 6 tackles and a sack last year, and Trey Pinckney had double-digit tackles for this team a season ago. So in the linebacker room, who comes back? Well, Shane Bruce is back, 52 tackles, 4 pass defended, and a pick for him last season. Wyatt Jedian, hopefully I'm saying that last name right, Mason Shelton, and Trey Brown are also all coming back in this linebacker room. When you take a look at the defensive back room, no notable losses out of the cornerback room, but you do lose a very important piece in the safety room. He was your leading tackler. He led the team, or I should say tied for the team leading interceptions from last season. It's Clayton Isbell. He has entered the transfer portal. 89 tackles, 5 passes defended, 3 interceptions. You will see him playing for a new program here in 2024. Friendly reminder to all of you out there, the transfer portal is not the NFL, because that is where Clayton Isbell is going as well. Apologies for that mistake in its sincerity. But again, Michael Mason, however you pronounce that first name, and Clayton Isbell, not off to the transfer portal. They are off to the NFL. I mean, just no excuse there from me other than just the brain lapse, I guess. But no, Clayton Isbell off to the NFL, as he should be. He's with the Carolina Panthers. He was a very important player to this defense last year, and honestly could provide some pretty good value to the Panthers there in the NFL. Again, apologies for that error, but you will not see Clayton Isbell on the team here in 2024. Again, you'll see him playing on Sunday. So in the defensive back room, Keontae Lusk does come back, and he was a really big part of what this defensive backfield did last season. 37 tackles, tied for second on the team with 6 pass defended and 3 interceptions from last season. Matthew McDoom and Courtney Eubanks also return in this cornerback room. Some really good pieces there from last season. And in the portal, well, they get a lot of pieces coming in through the portal. Quan Peterson, AJ Williams, Braden Hall, and Christian Conyer are all entering through the transfer portal. Peterson and Williams are both coming over. Peterson, Williams, and Conyer, I should say, are all coming over from Power 4 programs. So you could see those guys play some pretty significant minutes there in this cornerback room. In the safety room, Juan Powell comes back. He also had 6 passes defended there last season. And Powell sorry. Powell, 6 pass defended, really good piece there out of that defensive back room. I wanted to go back to Matthew McDoom. That's why the kind of stutter was there. He led the team with 10 passes defended there last season. Now we can get back to the safety room. Tobias Fletcher, 4 pass defended, 2 interceptions, and 36 tackles last season. Abraham Tamani and Dre Pinckney all come back, while Zamarian Gordon does enter from USC through the transfer portal. Kickers are people too. Let's show them some love. Evan Crenshaw has gone through the portal. I believe was that primary punter from last season. So you get Mac West coming back to take over for the punting duties. Liam Gray and Cade Hensley will battle it out for the kicking duties again here in 2024. Apologies there for all the errors. Again, Mason and Isbell not off to the portal. They are off to the NFL. But nonetheless, even when you lose Mason, you lose Killen, and you lose Isbell off of this team from last season. I mean, look, the defensive backfield returns a ton of talent from last year, and they bring a ton in through the transfer portal. The defensive line is still going to be really good. Your linebacker room, besides Killen, returns pretty much every major piece from last season. And the defense, well, hard to say whether or not those statistics are going to improve from last year. You could definitely say that you expect them to improve, and I wouldn't argue with you at all. This is the defense that I still think is going to be really good this year. And Coastal Carolina, I think, is still set up well to have a really good season here in 2024. Let's take a look at the schedule for the Chanticleers this upcoming season. Hey, any game at home is going to be underlined, meaning any game on the road is in italics, or, of course, that slanted text. Any game you see in green is a game that I think the Chanticleers are going to win easily. Any game in yellow will be a close competitive game, but one that I still see the Chanticleers being able to win. And any game in red, of course, is a loss. Let's go ahead and start out the Chanticleer's predictions. They got a very interesting non-conference road game as they have to go up against Jacksonville State. Now, this game for me is really, really hard to predict, and I could honestly see this one swinging in either direction. Jacksonville State entered the FBS ranks last season, and they did not skip a beat from where they were in the FCS ranks. They were really good, and they would have been competing for a Conference USA championship if they were eligible to do so from last season. Again, a very, very, very good team from last year that will be good again this season. Logan Smothers is going to take over at quarterback. You got some really good wide receiver pieces coming in. The defensive side returns a lot of really experienced talent. But overall, I think Coastal Carolina matches up with them really well. And I know it is a road game, but I think the Chanticleer team has what it needs to be able to go on the road and get a huge non-conference win to jumpstart your season against the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Again, these are going to be two really good sides. They could be two of the better sides, respectively, in their respective conferences. And I just like Coastal Carolina matching up with Jack State here a little bit more than I just like the matchup for Coastal Carolina. Plain and simple, I think Coastal Carolina has what it takes to get this one done. I think they get it done there on the road. I think Ethan Vasco matches up well with this Jacksonville State secondary. I don't think the Jacksonville State defense will have what it takes to keep up with a lot of the pieces that Coastal Carolina can have offensively. And with all that returning defensive talent, yes, they lost some really important pieces, especially in that secondary. They'll be able to slow Logan Smothers down. Can they slow down that run game, though? That is the big thing. I think they're going to be able to do just enough to be able to get it done. And Coastal Carolina wins on the road. They get to come back home and play William and Mary, and they will get their second win there of 2024. Easy win there against the team out of the FCS ranks. And then on the road against Temple, I think they're going to win that one as well. EJ Warner no longer on that team. He, of course, is the quarterback now at Rice. And Temple, I liked that team last season, and they didn't really pan out. Again, I liked them during prediction season last year, and I think they are now less talented this season. And a Temple could prove to be one of the bottom teams in the American Athletic. I think Coastal Carolina going on the road should be able to get a win there, but I think they lose to the Virginia Cavaliers. Now, a game I could see them winning. I absolutely could see them winning. But Virginia has had back-to-back 3-9 seasons. And look, while I projected another 3-9 season for them all the way back in prediction season, I know, spoilers, sorry, I don't really do that much. But Virginia is going to be a much more talented team than they have been in the past couple of years. They brought in some really good pieces through the portal. And overall, I just see that team taking a jump both offensively and defensively. And I think it's going to help them in this game here. I know it's a home game for Coastal Carolina, and I know that Conway can especially be one of the tougher places to play in the Sun Belt Conference. Something about it, though, I think Virginia's going to be able to pull out this win. And so whether or not you lose to Jacksonville State or Virginia, I think you lose at least one non-conference game here going into the conference slate. You do get your first bye week after non-conference slate, and it is a home game against Old Dominion that will kick everything off. Now, Old Dominion still got a lot of really good pieces there on that team. Yes, they did lose a lot through the transfer portal as they have over the past couple of seasons, but Grant Wilson is still that quarterback. You still got some really good pieces coming back in the wide receiver position. The defensive backfield got loaded with transfers here, but I like Coastal Carolina here to win this game. Again, Old Dominion lost a lot of pieces I think would have helped them beat Coastal Carolina, especially offensively from last season, and I do ultimately see Coastal Carolina being able to pull that one out at home, but after a short week there, now you have to go on the road. You have to play James Madison on a Thursday, and look, they still, even though Bob Chesney is gone, even though Jordan McLeod is gone, even though a ton of pieces that were really important to that team last year is gone, they're still going to be one of the best teams in the Sun Belt Conference. Bob Chesney is a great young head coach. He brought in some really talented pieces, and James Madison will win that game at home against Coastal Carolina. Now week 8 comes and you have to play the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. I know I haven't necessarily spoke super highly of the Ragin' Cajuns so far, but I'm going to do so now. Watch out for this team in Sun Belt play this season. This is the team that is expected to take a pretty darn big jump here entering this season, and I think they're going to be sneaky, and I think they're going to be feisty, and I think they pull an upset against the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, a game that I could easily see Coastal Carolina winning. They have all the pieces to do so, but Louisiana, I think, is going to pull off one or two big wins this year, and going on the road and getting a win against Coastal Carolina, I think will definitely be a case to do so. Now, let me make that case. Chandler Fields is a very very experienced quarterback coming back. Their skill position room has a good mix of young talent along with veterans. The offensive line is loaded with veterans this season. The defense returns a ton of really good talent from last year, and I do think Louisiana is going to take a giant step in the right direction. They upset Coastal Carolina there at home, and Coastal Carolina gets their second bye week after that. So 2 straight losses, but I think they go into this Troy game getting a win. Troy lost a lot of good talent from last season, both offensively and defensively. New quarterback, new running back, a lot of new defensive pieces, and I think it's going to take a little bit for Troy to fully settle in. I don't love the Gerard Parker hire either. That's going to be a win for me for the Chanticleers, but they just got off a 2-game win streak. They just ended it. I think they have another one right here. I think they're at home here. Again, another short week after a road trip, and they just lose to a very talented App State team. Now, Coastal Carolina's secondary can hang with the passing attack that Joey Aguilar and the Mountaineers are going to have this season, but ultimately I see it being a loss there. That passing attack just a little too much, and App State still has a lot of good defensive pieces as well. Marshall's going to be a tough team to play this year. Cole Pennington is there at quarterback. Don't panic with him. I think he's going to be fine. Marshall's got a lot of good pieces. Tough road environment. Coastal Carolina loses that one, but they win out to close out the season. A win against Georgia Southern. Clay Helton's group has still got a lot of very good pieces. Jalen White is back at running back. Some really good wide receiver pieces come back, but I think the Chanticleers are going to be able to get that one done. Again, that secondary, I think, matches up better with Georgia Southern's passing attack than they do with, say, the likes of App State or James Madison or anything like that. And then on the road against Georgia State, lost a lot of pieces. Head coach is gone. They probably will be one of the least most talented teams in the Sun Belt this year. A win for the Chanticleers gives me to 7-5, and I think 8-4 is definitely within range because you can beat Virginia, you can beat Louisiana, you can also even beat App State there at home. So with the talent that they have, maybe a little bit of a disappointing record at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, I still think they'll be a team that's good, really competitive in the Sun Belt Conference. Just some of the important pieces they lost, I think, has this team take a little bit of a hit, but overall not a bad season for the Chanticleers. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. And in my next video, we'll talk about the mean green of North Texas up next. Goodbye.